Yeah, so I know I'm playing the SG. I think it's sounding pretty good, doesn't it? And a sort of Brighton rock style solo. Um, yeah, it's coming up to. I mean, when this goes out, it'll either be the 8th or the 9th of August. But that's like what we're in 2023 now, so it's like the 37th anniversary of the last ever Queen concert at Knebworth, and I just thought I'd talk little bit about it because I remember going, and like the Queen they'd done Live Aid, and they kind of, I don't want to say sort of made a comeback, but after they did that Live Aid concert, and then they did like things like One Vision came out, and Kind of Magic, and that Highlander film. The Queen they were probably like the biggest band in the world, and so there was, they announced this big stadium tour, sort of '86, huge undertaking, and of course, they kept getting sold out and sold out and sold out, and then I was thinking, well, I'm probably never going to get to see them. And then of course they did the Wembley show, those two Wembley shows, which you probably got on the DVD or you've probably seen them, and I thought, well, that's it, I'm not going to see him. And then a friend of mine at school, he was saying, well, actually no, they put another show on, it's just been announced, and then he showed me this thing in the paper. He said, look, Queen Night of Summer Magic at Knebworth Park. Right. Now, I mean, going back then, the Knebworth shows, I mean, it used to be called the Knebworth Fair. It's about the 70s. A lot of the big rock bands actually played there. I think Led Zeppelin might have been like one of the last ones to play. But if you in the 70s, if you played Knebworth, then it was like it was a real big deal. But it had been neglected for a few years, and then like in '85, because of the Deep Purple reunion, Deep Purple decided that, well, we'll relaunch the Knebworth Fair, and then that was in '85, and then in '86 Queen decided that they were going to do it, and so I mean, like I say, I wasn't sure when I was going to go, and then so persuaded my dad that to buy tickets for me and my brother. There was a coach trip in the paper, so it was, yeah, right, decided, we're going to go, and of course, I mean, during that year I'd been pretty ill, didn't really understand things like burnout and stuff, and especially at like the age of 16, 17 or whatever. I really didn't understand it. So but this was this was something on the horizon to look forward to, and so it gradually got closer and closer. So anyway, so we got the train to I think it was picking up in Manchester. I'm not sure quite where it was. So we had to be there sort of quite early, and then we met up with there was a lad at school. He was known as Flash. I'm not actually sure of his first name, but because his surname was Gordon, you see, so he's known as Flash, and he also played guitar, and he was also he's quite good. But he was getting into like bands like Alcatraz and Ingrid Malmsteen, and which nobody else was listening to that stuff at the time. But anyway, so we met up on the train, and myself and my brother, this like old Flash, and then his sister, and we were just talking about Queen and stuff, and then we got on the coach, and it was all very exciting. We're going down on this coach, and then of course somebody had a DVD of the Queen Rock in Rio video, so we're watching some of that. That was quite good. So that sort of like put us in mind of what it was going to be like. And then of course we got there, and of course there's a big traffic jam. It's all log jam because pretty much everybody had decided, oh well, if I don't see Queen on this one, I'm never going to see him. So so you know, when we were sort of like approaching Stevenage, the traffic was just log jammed. But anyway, we managed to get in, got there, and of course, you know, there's loads of like, you know, sort of various sort of Queen fans, you know, ranging from like, you know, sort of heavy rock fans to sort of pop fans, and you know, people of different ages and stuff. A really warm day as well. And I think that was part of the problem. I mean, because like we've been stuck in this traffic jam, and I remember we were listening to Radio 1. It was Dave Lee Travis, which shows you how long ago it was. And I remember there was this joke about sort of ebony and ivory. I never really got it, because I think I wasn't really paying much attention to what the joke was. But you know, the Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson songs. I remember he was making some joke about that, but perhaps you can enlighten me on what that was if you were there. But anyway, so yeah, so we were in this traffic jam. It's a very warm day. The coach was really stuffy. So when we actually got there, just feeling sort of, you know, a bit, you know, when you've had that sort of like travelling sort of feeling, you're feeling quite thirsty. But of course, as you were queuing up, they got this big sign about, you know, no bottles, no drinks, no alcohol. And they were stop searching you as well. So if you had any drinks on you, they took them off you. So of course we didn't, because we'd actually drunk them on the coach. But even so, we're still feeling quite thirsty because it's very warm. And then of course we got in, and as we're going in, I remember there was Jonathan King. It was he used to be a TV presenter, but he was one of these impresarios as well. He got sent to prison for something a bit dodgy as well. But I remember he rolled up in this white Rolls Royce, and he was blazing out Panama by Van Halen. And someone was going, "Hey, look, that's Jonathan King," and some other people were just saying, "What a, you know, beginning with W and rhymes with anchor," and yeah. So anyway, we actually got in. The place started to fill up. And of course inside they're selling drinks, but they're super elevated prices, etc, etc. So anyway, we managed to get another drink. The first band on was Status Quo, and they were really good. If you ever seen Status Quo live, they are just really good. They put everything into it. And I remember there was part way through it, there was some guy was doing like a guitar on top of the stage. You know that famous stage that Queen had with the lightning streaks on it? There's like a little platform at the top which had like a burner on it, and there was this guy up at the top, and he was just like doing air guitar at the top, and it was, yeah, that was quite fun. And then at the end of that set, I was feeling a bit, like I say, I was feeling really dehydrated, and I sort of had like a dizzy spell. And I think, to be honest, the whole excitement of the day was just, you know, it was a bit much for me, and so I just remember feeling really dizzy, and like everything going into black and white, you know. And so yeah, so we found the first aid tent. The next thing I knew, that like the next band on were Big Country. They're like from Scotland, and they used to do like sort of make the guitar sound like bagpipes, you know. They're sort of in a similar vein to like a bit like U2 and The Verb and bands like that, but they brought in the Scottish influences of like, you know, like bagpipes, and you know, making the guitar sound like bagpipes. And so one of my memories of them was like, you know, lying down in the first aid tent while Big Country were playing on, you know. And then of course I remember they were doing, it was before the days of selfies, but I remember the singer, he did this thing about, you know, he wanted to take a picture of everybody, and you know, and then he was apologising because he only had a short set, they wanted to do more, you know. And then I think really people wanted more like a festival, you know. I mean, you know, even though like Queen were, you know, coming on, I think people wanted something more like the, you know, like the Download, you know, like Donington, or what's that one in Germany, you know, like that really big rock festival in Germany, is it Wacken, how do you pronounce it? That is that how you know the one I mean. I think people wanted something a bit more like that. So unfortunately, like Big Country didn't get a full set, which was a bit of a pity. But so then there's a bit of a wait, and then finally, like Queen came on, and there's a lot of excitement. Oh yeah. Oh, actually, before they came on, there was this whole thing about because we were kind of at the back because because we'd been in the traffic jam. We were kind of at the back, and the actual Knebworth house, it's as well. I think they've used it since then. Like in the Christopher Nolan Batman films, they've used it. That was Batman's house, and I think they use it for Downton Abbey. I'm not sure. Might need fact checking on that, but it's. So we were sort of looking at that. So then I remember, there's helicopters were flying around all over the place, and then finally this helicopter that's is all in white with the word a kind of magic on the side, and everybody starts waving, and then of course me and my brother, we're out of the back, and then we're waving, and then I found out a few months later that when the Live Magic album came out, there's a gatefold sleeve of that, and you can see these two stick figures sort of waving, and that's me and my brother. So if you got a copy of that album, then you'll see me and my brother there. It's a shame I haven't got it with me because I'd be able to point it out. So we were kind of just talking to a few people, but there's a huge crowd there, and we were thinking, well, maybe we should get nearer the front, and but you couldn't get any further in because it was just so full of people. Like they reckon 120,000 people, but it could have been a lot more than that. Because so anyway, so Queen finally came on. A lot of excitement about them coming on, and then also, then Freddie. After the first couple of numbers, Freddie comes on. Hey, you okay? You having a good day? And this is what you wanted. This is what you're going to get. And then they played at least for the first hour or so. They played a really good show. But you could kind of tell that the emotions were running high. Not just from the audience, but from Queen themselves. Because not only was this the last show of the tour, but you did get that sense that if they were to do another tour after this, it couldn't possibly be any bigger. They'd be having to scale back, play smaller theatres again. So you kind of knew, even though it wasn't actually announced, that was going to be the end of an era. So those emotions were running deep. So anyway, so like I say, for about the first hour or so, it was just amazing, But then it was kind, because the set list was very close to the Wembley show, but just a few subtle alterations, and I think maybe we should start a campaign, because there's a couple of bootlegs on YouTube of the Knebworth show. So and I'm sure in an interview that Brian May was saying that, oh yeah, somebody forgot to hit record, which is why there's no DVD release of the Knebworth show. But I'm not sure that's true. So maybe we could start a campaign, hashtag not release the Schneider Cut, but release the Knebworth concert. Maybe we could start that. So if I see hashtag release the Knebworth concert, then I know you watch this video. But anyway, so we got to around the I think it was when they did the they did the version of Lap of the Gods, but it was done on guitar. And it was a different arrangement, and of course I didn't recognise it. I thought, I know that song from somewhere, but at the time I didn't recognise it. But anyway, so as I was saying, they were getting to about halfway through. They do that impromptu piece, and then Freddie does this. I thought it was quite strange because he was doing like Brian May does with his solo. He was singing into like a delay sort of machine and getting all kinds of effects there. It wasn't quite like the Prophet song, but it was kind of sort of similar-ish, but as like a carryover from that Impromptu. And then it went into Brian's solo, and he had quite an impressive solo. But I also got the feeling that, as I was saying, that like Deep Purple had played it the year before, and like bands like Led Zeppelin had played it, previously. I'd actually wondered if you could almost like see like Brian's thoughts, not only like, well, what should I do next, but more kind of like he's standing there and he's like, yeah, I'm finally there. That at that moment he wasn't so much like following his peers, as like he was like, yeah, I made it. I'm actually the I've laid my stone down. There was I'm making history. This is a moment in history. It almost in the similar way that like the Live Aid show was like a moment in history. So then you were getting this review of all like the different versions of the Brian May. So like that Brighton Rock solo. A lot of it very similar to like the Wembley show, but then he did like a reprise of like the like on the actual Sheer Heart Attack original. He actually kind of did a reprise of some of that, and then like some of like the Live Killers version, and excuse me. So so that was very exciting, and then of course they came back, Now Here, and then Who Wants to Live Forever, and then the acoustic set. But you can kind of see around the time of like the acoustic set that that they were not only were the emotions running high, but you could see that they were getting a bit tired, because they were putting everything into this show. So you could see that they were getting tired. I'm not sure whether to drop an F-bomb here, but there's a bit on the Love of My Life, where like normally at the end of it, then like Freddie goes, I still love you, and then and then everybody cheers. But this time he goes, I still effing love you, and then almost as if like, yeah, that's enough now. Yeah, and then like Tutti Frutti, and then it was going into like more sort of rockier stuff, and then Bohemian Rhapsody, and they go off for a break, and then like like during the encores they came back. The first one they did was Radio Gaga, but you could tell that the tensions were there, because like in between like the vocal part, Freddie had like this glass of water, and he splashes John Deacon with this water, like, come on John, wake up. And at the end of the song you see it like, so John goes, right, well, I've had enough of this, and then like takes his bass off and goes, just chucks it at the amplifier. It's kind of ironic, because I sort of had like a premonition of something like this, because of as I was saying, that like Deep Purple had played the year before, and Richie Blackmore's party trick was like always smashing a guitar up, and I was thinking, well, do you think we'll see anybody smash a guitar up today? And they didn't disappoint. So but I think that there were a lot of tensions there, which we only found out sort of like years later, what was going on. So I'm not going to hold anybody to blame for that, because they did work really hard on this. And then the We Will Rock You, Friends Will Be Friends, and then the We Are the Champions, and then Freddie coming out with the robe and the crown. And then of course then Harvey Goldsmith, who was the promoter, he's coming out saying, right, come on, make your way home now, and everybody's going, because it was sort of we'd been on that high, and then it's kind of like, well, we're going to go home now. But of course, if it was a job like being in a traffic jam, getting there, getting home was even worse, because it was like taking us hours just to get to the car park, because of like the crowds of people, and then the traffic itself, because we'd been promised, we'd be back home for whatever, but we were just hours and hours late. So anyway, you know, we got back, yeah, really late, and I just remember like trying to sort of try to get some sleep on the station, Manchester Piccadilly. Somehow we managed to get to Manchester Piccadilly. We knew there'd be an early train back home, so so we just managed to just grab a couple of hours just sleeping on the station, and then of course, you know, got back home about, was it something past 8, something like that, because my mum wanted to go to 10 o'clock mass, which is a bit of an occasion in itself. So we went there, you know, half asleep, and of course, like the congregation, they were half asleep as well. I mean, like, church in England, it can be a bit half-hearted. I don't know what it's like where you are, whether you've ever been, or you know, whether you still go. Oh dear, I don't know whether to tell you this thing again, another F-bomb, but as you know, as we're going through like this sort of like very dull, uninspired mass, and like the you know, like the guitars and tambourines, happy clappy music, ding 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 ding, then my brother turns to me and then he mimics Freddie, goes, "Hey, you fuckers can sing!" Right in the middle of this really dull mass. So you're getting this combination of, like, you know, this high sort of energy rock concert where everybody's really excited, and this really lackluster, oh, I don't really want to be here, 10 o'clock mass on a Sunday morning, you know. So we're getting those sort of contrasts, you know. So but there were, you know, like I say, I mean, apart from the traffic, there were a few, you know, moments where you were kind of thinking, well, maybe it was, you know, the way you look forward to like Christmas and your birthday sometimes, and then you get it, and then it's kind of like it's a bit of an anticlimax. There was some of that because we were so far back, you could only like really see like the small little stick figures on the stage. So it was kind of like, it was almost like a bit surreal, you know, where, you know, it's like 100,000 people just watching a TV in the middle of a field somewhere in Stevenage, you know. So there was that part of it, and like I say, there was also the fact of this was like the last Queen concert, you know, with Freddie, I mean, anyway, and you know, and then they didn't release any more music until, you know, like the Miracle, and then, you know, of course, all the stuff about Freddie, you know, came out, and you know, so it was kind of an end of an era. I mean, there were other bands, you know, of that time were doing big stadium tours as well. I don't know whether they were following suit, but, you know, bands like Genesis and Pink Floyd, Dire Straits, Eric Clapton, and so on and so on. And it was kind of almost like a rock star super league, you know, of like just these big name bands. Oh, and Elton John, of course, yeah. But, you know, these big name bands that could actually do these big stadium arenas, you know, and it just seemed to be the era of that. And, you know, it was just seemed to be that time, you know, like in the mid-80s, that we might get big concerts, but nothing of that scale, you know. But we don't, I mean, you know, however you feel about Queen, you know, whether, you know, you were a big fan then, or you were kind of like disappointed about, you know, how it all sort of seemed to just sort of burn out after that. You know, they did set this benchmark, you know, like the number of albums sold, and then these you know, not only did they put on a show, but they put on a show, and you know, and so and then they played these big tours. You know, it's a very tough act to follow. You know, they've set the bar so high. You know, that like a sort of, you know, a sort of semi-amateur rather than semi-pro musician. It's got a lot of work to do to actually get to that level. You know, I don't know whether we'll actually have anything like that again. You know, but yeah, I just thought, you know, with it coming up to like August the 9th, that this might make a good story for you. So So yeah, so you know, if you enjoyed that, then please comment below, and yeah, and you know, if you got any other comments, that's also welcome. Welcome to the channel as well if you're new. I'll see you next time. All right, thanks for watching.